Hey guys, welcome back to another Now Loading here on PopNerdTV. I'm your host as always, Alex Thompson, and I have with us the CEO, Johnathan Paul. What's going on, man?
What's up?
Hey.
How's it going?
Doing good. So, I want to start off by telling all the fans that still watch this that we're going to be doing a little bit of a change up on the show. We are going to be moving this from more of like a news-based thing to a sit-down kind of talk thing. That's why you've been seeing the guests lately. We've been testing the waters, and I think that we finally came up with something that's going to work out. So I hope that you guys enjoy this. And, you know, if you do, let us know in the comments. You mean, always give us some feedback. We're always willing to listen. So, as always, we're going to be talking about new game releases for the week, and we'll start off with that first. Now, I want to ask John, what are you excited for this week? I mean, it's going to be July 9th through the 15th. What's coming out here?
Right, okay, so the one I've got is Black the Fall. It's going to come out on July 11th. It's going to come out for the PC, PS4, and Xbox One. This one's really interesting. So when we were watching the trailer, it really, the very first thing that just kind of stood out to me was that it looked a lot like Abe's Odyssey. I don't know if you remember Abe's Odyssey.
That game.
I mean, Abe's Odyssey was great.
Yeah.
For the original PlayStation. And it just kind of has that same type of vibe. You know, it's a single track, linear, you know, side scroller. The graphics look great.
They look really good.
It's not like super done graphics, you know, but it's just really well put together. You know, everything is just structured really great, but it still kind of has like I don't know, maybe like a quasi cartoonish feel to it.
Yeah.
It's not quite like super realism. So I thought that looked great. The gameplay looks great. It's a tried and tested, you know, side scroller.
Yeah, just interactive things that happen in the background.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
Right. So I think that's that was really impressive to me. So some of the notes, right? So we've got a side-scrolling puzzle game where you have to avoid suspicion in a dark industrial world of oppressors. So again, that's a lot like Abe, right? Because remember in Abe, you had to roll around and hide in the shadows, you know, and then maybe use your voice to distract somebody, you know, to kind of get to the next level. And then it's also inspired by the Sand Sailor team's upbringing in communist Romania, which you pointed out, which I totally missed it, but you pointed out that there's a couple of pieces of
communist propaganda.
Right,
yeah,
which is really interesting.
It's really creepy. Like, I remember the first time I watched the trailer, I didn't notice it. The second time I watched the trailer, and I was like, wait a minute. And then I saw the hammer and, you know.
Right. The sickle and the hammer, yeah for sure.
And, I mean, it was crazy. Like, the whole thing, like, I was like, okay. And then when I started looking into it and I saw that they were inspired by the communist Romania thing, I was like, okay, this makes sense. And that just really brings like this dark, gritty aspect to the game. You know?
Right. Which again, so think about this, you know, and I mentioned it to you when we were watching the trailers, that it reminds me a lot of Metropolis.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So Fritz Lang's Metropolis, which was created many years ago, back in the 20s. And it was very dark. It's very mechanical. It's just very you know, it's just kind of a 1984-ish type of world, right? This has that same type of feel, which goes right in line with the whole communist idea. Which that also kind of brings up a really interesting point, that it's cool that developers and creators are being able to use you know, the video game platform as a way to sound off on, you know, maybe their political views or, you know, what they think or what they feel from from where they came from. So I'm really interested in this game. Again, it comes out July 11th for the PC, PS4, and Xbox One. So I think it's going to be pretty cool.
That sounds cool. It's something that I was looking forward to, and it was just a game that I went into like looking it up, and I was just like, okay, knew nothing about it, got into it, and I'm just like, okay, maybe I want to try this game.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
But speaking of other games, the one that I'm bringing up this week comes out July 11th, and it's actually a remake. It's kind of like a remastered remake kind of thing, but it's Final Fantasy XII, the Zodiac Age. Now, the original game came out, what was it, like 2000?
I think it was 2006.
Something like that?
Yeah.
But this is like a section of the game, and they call it the Zodiac Age because they added new systems and stuff in it called the Zodiac. It's like a Zodiac system thing.
Right.
And it's a new leveling thing for characters and all that.
Right.
And, but really, it's an HD remastered version of the original game. It was originally released on March 16, 2006. 2006, and the game in the series brought like a lot of, innovative stuff when it first came out.
Right.
We had like a new AI system, there's a gambit system,
right.
And we had a controllable camera finally in Final Fantasy, which was great.
Was a huge deal.
Yeah, I remember there's too many times running around in Final Fantasy VII where I'm just like, where do I go?
Right. You have no idea because the camera is not leading you where you need to go.
Yeah. No, you're over here like running behind some pillar and you're like, where did I go?
Right, or it's like in Final Fantasy VII when you're on the world map view and you have no idea where to go. So you're just running around and essentially you run around and fight for like an hour before you find out where you need to go.
Exactly. So. But no, the Zodiac system, like the job system for the game, it's an improved character leveling system, and it also features a trial mode now where you can fight up to 100 monsters, and there's a speed mode where it allows you to actually run and move faster through everything.
Right, which is cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a cool way to change it up. But let me ask you this, are we getting to the point where we're getting too many of these HD remakes?
I think so. I feel like almost every other month we're getting some kind of HD remake of something.
Right.
Or even like we've talked about, I've talked about with Christian and Bacon before, like with Kingdom Hearts. There was like Kingdom Hearts HD 1.25.
Right.
And it's just like, when is this enough? You
right.
know?
Right.
I mean, it's great we're getting better graphics, but...
Well, yeah, I mean, think about that too, though. Is like, it's one of those things where, Microsoft, I think, has done really well on backwards compatibility. Mm-hmm. I think they dropped the ball elsewhere, but on backwards compatibility, they've done a really good job. And I think that Sony just hasn't quite got it. PlayStation now is cool.
Yeah.
But it always relies on streaming, right?
Exactly.
And so, man, it would be great if they would add like the PlayStation 2 or the PlayStation 1 games to PlayStation Now, but instead what we're doing is we're like rehashing them into HD versions and then releasing them on the
And then
PS4.
you got to pay $60 all over again for a game. And it's just like, okay, I own this game already. It may not look as nice, but why am I paying $60 when I same price I paid for the game back then?
Exactly. I mean, I'm probably more than likely going to play this because Final Fantasy is like my jam.
Yeah.
But that or Elder Scrolls. If they ever release any kind of like updated Elder Scrolls, I'm an idiot and I'll buy it too. Well,
this is the crazy thing about it. Like looking this up and everything and seeing like all the hype behind it, there's a lot of people that are excited for this.
For sure,
like a lot. I mean, and Final Fantasy has its fan base anyway. Like they're diehard fans or whatever. But it really surprised me how many people, even among my friends, were talking about this. And I'm just like, okay. Really?
Right. Now, see, so Final Fantasy VII, when they released the trailer at E3, remember when they released the trailer? It was that really sneaky, 3D, awesome, Square Enix.
Whoa,
right.
Yeah.
When they released that and then they said that they were actually going to remake the game, I mean, that is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, you're completely redoing the game and re-releasing it for the specs of the PlayStation 4 or whatever, PlayStation Pro or whatever they release it on. So that's cool.
Right.
But if we're just doing just the upgrade just to get the HD version, I'm cool with just sticking with the old school version.
All right, and I'm sure you could even find like an emulator now online or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a million different
you
ways.
can even buy. My gosh, I mean, like the PlayStation 2 games, you go on eBay, they're so cheap.
They overproduce so many of those games, and it's just like...
And you can just buy them in like bundles. I know I've seen like Final Fantasy bundles for the PlayStation and PlayStation 1, which aren't crazy. They aren't too expensive, but and you can get them for pretty cheap.
I remember when I worked at the game store, it was basically some of the games you couldn't even give them away,
Oh yeah, for sure.
They sit in the little clearance bin for forever.
Yeah, or they sit in the little sleeves where the game faces are gone. And all you have is the disc. Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of people excited for this. Comes out July 11th, Final Fantasy XII, the Zodiac Age, and it's Square Enix. It has all your favorite people in it. It's just everything. If you were a Final Fantasy XII fan, definitely try it out. Yep. I mean, you're gonna get a few new things and I guess some replay values in there. So
for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, anyways, guys, we're gonna move on to a new section that we have, and it's gonna be game news. So something that came out or is coming out. Anyways, the news came out recently, but the game, this actual thing itself, coming out in, what did we say? It was September
29th.
Yeah, September 29th is the SNES Mini. And we all are familiar with the NES Classic that came out with the whole thing last year where they didn't make enough and scalpers were taking advantage of it and everything else. But we're getting an NES version of it now, and it seems pretty cool. I'm really kind of excited for it. I'm glad they did. I kind of wish they did this before the NES a little bit.
Yeah, I think it was good that they tried it, the whole classic system out with the NES. There's a lot of fans. I grew up with the NES. That was the first console. That and the Atari were the first consoles that I had. So, but the Super Nintendo was where things just went legit.
Bit War started and everyone was just like,
it was just insane.
Yeah.
The Super Nintendo, I think, is... it's probably my favorite console of all time.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
probably
cool.
That or the PlayStation, the original PlayStation.
Good choices.
One of those two are probably my favorite consoles of all time. But yeah, the amazing thing about this is that just like the NES Mini, it has the classic look, the classic feel of the original Super Nintendo. And then just like the classic NES that they released last year, it comes pre-installed with like 21 games.
No, that's the coolest thing. And then, you have your classic games, you have your Star Foxes, and you have your Zelda and Mario Kart and everything else. But one of the coolest ones that I noticed on there was that they're releasing Star Fox 2 finally. Okay?
Yes.
And it's not the ROM, they released the ROM when they leaked that, but this is like the official version of the game.
The official game, yeah.
Yeah, and for for all of you that don't know, Star Fox 2 never came out for SNES back in the day. They actually scrapped the idea and they just went straight to the 64 because it was coming out at the time and they had more power with the 64.
Right, exactly.
But
Star Fox 2 is really good.
Yeah, it looks really good. I've seen gameplay from it, like the
Have you never played it?
I've never played it though.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough, I had a friend of mine that, you can find it out there. We don't condone going out and buying ROMs, go buy the game when it comes out. But I have played the game before, I have played the ROM. And it's cool, man. It's awesome. I can see why they jumped ship and went to the 64 because you had more power.
Right.
You could do a lot more with it. And Star Fox 64 is a really awesome game too.
Right.
It's a really fun game. But the coolest thing is looking at the list of games that they've got on here. You've got Super Mario World, Super Mario Kart, Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, which is great. F-Zero, Super Metroid, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, which was great.
That's great.
Castlevania 4, Donkey Kong Country, Mega Man X, which is one of my favorite Mega Man games. And then Earthbound, which a lot of people haven't played Earthbound, but that game is great.
It's a great game, and that's the thing about it is I think this might open up the world to some of these games because Earthbound, like you said, really hard game to find.
Right.
So first off, and if you do find it, it's expensive.
Right.
And if it's for just an everyday kind of player or whatever, they're not going to pay that much to just play this game or whatever. So this is going to open up the world to a whole new generation of gamers, basically. And be they can finally check out what Earthbound is about.
Right, which Earthbound is great.
Yeah.
And then the other thing too, Scott, Final Fantasy III, and there's a longer list of games that I believe Nintendo has up on their website that you can totally check out there. I'm wondering if there's going to be the ability to play. I'm sure somebody's going to figure out a way to jailbreak these suckers.
Yeah, probably.
And figure out how to play, the emulators and the.
I'm sure they've already been experimenting with the NES Classic.
Oh, I'm sure. But the cool thing is, it comes with HDMI input, so it'll go HDMI to your TV, which is great. And then it also comes with USB charge cables, which is very cool. And there's no additional word that I've seen on any other games that they're going to release.
Okay.
So I don't know if 21 games, is that it, or are we going to do some extra releases, or?
It would be kind of cool if they put maybe a little Ethernet cable in the back and you could download new
where
stuff
you could
onto
do
it.
maybe a firmware update or something like that. Yeah, for sure. But I put the question at the end of our notes because again, this is begging the question. So Nintendo is releasing the NES Classic and now the Super Nintendo Entertainment System Classic. Why are they doing that and not putting the money into the Virtual Console?
Okay, I kind of have a semi-theory behind this. If you, they have the Virtual Console thing though, but eventually it's going to be an obsolete kind of thing.
You think so?
Eventually, I think. Well, in a way. It's going to move on to another system and it's going to keep going, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm sure that it's going to eventually just come down to where, it, you know, just like the arcades and everything else, or you just like...
It could be, yeah.
Yeah. But
it just seems like the Switch is like the perfect device for having the virtual console.
Exactly.
You know, and the access to just all of the classics, you know, Nintendo games. Because it'd just be great. I mean, think about it. I would buy a Switch and probably play Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and then nothing but Nintendo and Super Nintendo games on the Switch if you could do that.
Well, I mean, another way I guess you could think about it too is like if you don't want to throw out the like $200 and $300 for a Switch or whatever, this is like a big discount and you're still getting all the games for it. And maybe you're not a guy who is like playing new games or anything anymore.
Do we know what the new price is? I don't think they've released the price, have they?
I don't think so, but... I mean, it can't be that much. The original one was what, like?
It was like, I want to say it's like 79,
something like that.
Okay, so it's going to be 79.99, and the NES Classic was 59.99, so it was 60. Which of course you can't find those. You can find them on eBay, but they're people are asking like $250 for them. But the SNES Classic will be $79.99, and as of right now, I think it's. Are they taking pre-orders? They are taking pre-orders now, so it's going to sell out fast. But I like the fact that they moved the release date to September 29th instead of like November like they did with the NES.
Everyone just scrounging and like trying to scrape and grab one. And well, hopefully now I think you were telling me they're only going to be selling one per person now.
Right. Well, they're trying to keep it to where you get one per person.
Right.
Because that's what ended up happening with the NES Classic, is that people just bought a ton of them and then just started going to eBay.
The price started going. I remember seeing some on eBay going for like $200, and I'm just
absolutely.
like, and I mean, I feel bad for the parents like during Christmas time and their kids really want it.
That's what you want. Yeah. A cool thing is I think they're going to end up making more of the SNES classics than they did the NES. I think Nintendo kind of figured out, hey, okay, there's a real big demand for this. Let's go ahead and let's mass produce them. Because I believe they're going to mass produce them all the way up until the end of the new year.
That's good.
So from September till the end of the new year, they're going to be manufacturing and releasing them. So we should have, since they're starting releasing these in September, we should have a good number of these consoles available for everybody.
There's going to be a plethora, hopefully. We're not going to be, limited supply run, whatever thing else that we have.
But again, can they stop people from buying multiple copies, from multiple units? No. Because somebody could go to Best Buy and then go to
Target
Amazon or whatever and buy another one. Right, for sure.
Exactly. Well, guys, this is going to bring us to the end of our Now Loading episode. Be sure to check out our website, popnerdtv.com. Say hello to John. Drop him a line, right? Tell him how great the site is.
Yeah.
Wonderful. He's helping us out.
Yeah.
Hey, high five for you.
It's going pretty good.
Yeah. And be sure to check out the articles on there. Be sure to check out our other videos on our YouTube and subscribe to it. You can ring the bell and you can get alerts for our YouTube. Also, check out our Patreon. We
need support.
We need support. And if you want to see a lot of cool stuff, like all our retro flashback stuff and anything else, it's going to be on there. Okay, guys? And also, be sure to check out popnerdtv.store because we got a bunch of merchandise and stuff coming on there, and hopefully soon Now Loading
It's
stuff.
coming. I just have to get some time to actually put this stuff together.
It'll come.
It's going to happen.
Hopefully sooner than later.
Right.
All right, guys. Well, we will catch you next Monday on Now Loading. It's been Alex Thompson.
Johnathan Paul. Bye.
Well, I guess this is going to bring us to our Retro Rewind, where we go back in time all the way back to 1998. And this is in the United States. This is in Japan.
Right.
Okay? On the N64, on July 14th, 1998, we got F-Zero X, which was the direct sequel to F-Zero.
Right.
On the Super Nintendo.
Right.
So,